The parking garage was nearly empty at 11 o'clock on a Thursday night. Patricia gathered her files, exhausted from another late shift at the accounting firm. At 57, these long hours were getting harder, but the promotion she'd been promised kept her going. She was halfway to her car when she heard footsteps echoing behind her. Quick, deliberate, getting closer. Patricia's heart jumped. She fumbled for her keys, picking up her pace. "Ms. Patricia Green?" a voice called out. She turned to see two men in dark suits approaching. Something about them made her skin crawl. Their smiles were too wide, too practiced. "We're with Morrison Financial Services," one said smoothly. "We have some questions about accounts you've been managing." A black Lincoln suddenly pulled up beside them, tires squealing slightly. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a man in his early 60s with steel gray hair and piercing eyes. Patricia recognized him vaguely. James Blackwood, the CEO who owned half the building. She'd seen him in the elevator once or twice, but never spoken to him. He had a reputation for being silent, intimidating, utterly focused on business. "Get in the car," he said to Patricia. His voice was calm but carried absolute authority. "I'm sorry, what?" Patricia stammered. "Now." His eyes shifted to the two men. These gentlemen were just leaving. The two men exchanged glances. "Sir, this doesn't concern you." "It does now, Ms. Green. Get in the car, please." That last word was softer, almost gentle. Something in his tone, in the tension she could feel crackling between him and these strangers, made Patricia move. She rushed to the passenger side and slid in. James accelerated smoothly out of the garage. Patricia's hands shook as she fastened her seatbelt. What just happened? Who were those men? Not who they said they were. James kept his eyes on the road, checking the rearview mirror. Morrison Financial Services doesn't exist, and those weren't the kind of men who ask questions about accounts. "I don't understand." James was quiet for a long moment, his jaw tight. Finally he spoke. "3 weeks ago someone accessed your computer at work. They used your credentials to transfer $2 million from a client's account. The real authorities are investigating, but these men, they work for people who don't go through official channels." Patricia felt the blood drain from her face. "That's impossible. I would never. I know you wouldn't. I've been watching." "Watching me?" Patricia's fear shifted. "What do you mean, watching me?" James pulled into a quiet coffee shop parking lot and turned to face her. In the dim light she saw exhaustion in his eyes and something else, concern. "I'm going to tell you something I probably shouldn't," he said quietly. "My company doesn't just develop software. We provide security services, corporate espionage prevention. About a month ago, we detected unusual activity in your firm's network. Someone was setting up an elaborate frame targeting you specifically." "Why me? I'm nobody. Just a senior accountant." "That's exactly why. You're reliable, trustworthy, 15 years at the firm with a spotless record. You're also a single mother whose son just started college. Someone thought you'd be the perfect scapegoat. Beyond suspicion until the evidence appeared, then too vulnerable to fight back." Patricia's mind reeled. "My son, David, is he safe?" "He's fine. I have people watching him, discreetly." James ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I know this sounds insane, but my own sister was framed for embezzlement 20 years ago. She lost everything. Her career, her reputation, her will to fight. By the time I had the resources to help her, it was too late. She took her own life." Patricia saw the old pain flicker across his face. "James, I'm so sorry. I swore I'd never let that happen to someone else if I could prevent it. When we detected this scheme, I started investigating. You needed to know, but I couldn't just walk up to you. You wouldn't have believed me. So I've been looking out for you, making sure you stayed safe while we built a case. The real police, do they know I'm innocent? They will by tomorrow morning. My team has traced everything to its actual source, a junior partner at your firm named Richard Chen. He's been embezzling for 3 years, and he needed someone to blame before the annual audit. But those men in the parking garage, they were hired to intimidate you into disappearing before you could prove your innocence." Patricia pressed her hands to her face, overwhelmed. "I could have lost everything. My reputation, my ability to support David, everything I've worked for. I wouldn't have let that happen." James's voice was firm. "My sister didn't have anyone watching out for her, but you do. They sat in silence for a moment. Patricia studied this man she'd seen as cold and distant, realizing how wrong first impressions could be. "Why didn't you just tell me?" she asked. "Warn me directly? Would you have believed me? A CEO you'd never spoken to, claiming someone was framing you for a crime you didn't know had been committed?" James smiled slightly. "You'd have thought I was part of the problem. I needed to wait until I had proof, until the danger became real enough that you'd listen." Patricia understood. He was right, she would have thought he was crazy. Or worse, involved somehow. "What happens now?" "Now you don't go home tonight. I've arranged a hotel room. Nothing fancy, just safe. Tomorrow morning my attorney will meet with you and the FBI. Richard Chen will be arrested. Those men who approached you will be identified and dealt with. And your record will be completely cleared." "James, I can't possibly repay you for all this. I don't want repayment." He looked at her intently. "I want you to go forward with your life. Raise your son. Keep being the honest, hard-working person you are. That's what my sister would have wanted, for her story to end differently for someone else." Patricia felt tears slip down her cheeks. "She would have been proud of you. What you've done for me, for however many others you've helped." "Maybe." James started the car again. "Come on, let's get you somewhere safe. And tomorrow we'll make sure justice actually works the way it's supposed to." As they drove through the quiet city streets, Patricia realized that heroes don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they work in silence, in shadows, watching over strangers because they couldn't save the people they loved. 6 months later, Patricia stood in her new office, a promotion, finally awarded after Richard Chen's arrest, cleared the firm's investigation. Through her window she could see James Blackwood's building across the street. She'd tried to thank him properly, but he'd brushed it off. "Just pay it forward," he'd said simply. "Be someone's guardian angel when they need one." Patricia pulled out the card he'd given her that night. Just a phone number, nothing else. She'd keep it forever. A reminder that in a world that often feels cold and indifferent, there are still people who watch over strangers with fierce, silent dedication. And she'd keep his counsel too, always watching for others who might need help, might need a guardian they don't even know they have. The end. The greatest acts of heroism often happen in silence, protecting those who never know they're in danger.